My daughter hid at school every day. What she finally told me changed our lives. Used to think I knew everything about my daughter. At 11 years old, Amina was quiet, gentle, and thoughtful. One of those children who hugged you tightly every morning before school and whispered, "Love you, mama," before running to catch the van. She wasn't the loudest child or the boldest, but she was steady, predictable, safe. I never imagined she was living a silent battle every day. It started subtly. Her uniform skirts came home dirtier than usual. Her lunchboxes were either half-eaten or barely touched. She'd flinch whenever someone shouted on TV, and at night, she started checking the locks on her bedroom door before sleeping. The first few days, I brushed it off. School could be tiring. Children had mood swings. But then the school called. Mrs. Khan, her teacher, Miss Sana, said, sounding worried, "Amina hasn't been joining the last period class this week. We thought she went home early, but today we found her sitting behind the auditorium stage." She didn't say why. My heart tightened. Behind the stage? Doing what? "Just sitting there," the teacher replied. Quiet, not crying, just hidden. Hidden. The word gnawed at me. That evening, when Amina came home, she seemed normal, smiling faintly, putting her shoes neatly by the door, washing her hands before dinner. I watched her closely through the meal, wondering if I should ask, or if pushing her would make her close off even more. "Amina," I finally said gently, "your teacher called today." Her fork froze midair. Not a word, not even a blink. "She told me you've been disappearing during school, sitting alone behind the auditorium." "Sweetheart, why?" Her eyes darted down. Her fingers trembled, and suddenly she wasn't eating anymore. "I don't want to talk about it," she murmured. As a mother, that sentence is agony because it's never about not wanting to talk. It's about not being able to. I leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You don't have to be scared of telling me anything. Not ever." She swallowed hard. Then something inside her broke. Tears slid down her cheeks, quiet at first, then quickly turning into muffled sobs. She buried her face in my lap, shaking. "It's okay," I whispered, rubbing her back. "Tell Mama. I'm right here." It took her 10 minutes to calm down enough to speak, and when she finally did, her voice was so small it didn't sound like hers at all. "Mama, they hurt me." My blood ran cold. "Who hurt you?" She hesitated as though saying the names aloud would make things real. "A group of girls, from the class above mine." I felt my breath stop. "They make fun of me every day," she whispered. "They pull my hair, hide my books, push me in the hallway. They call me names. They say I'm weird, that I don't talk enough. When I try to go to class, they follow me. So I hide, Mama, because hiding is easier." She began crying again, quietly but deeply, tears that had been held back for months. I didn't know when my own tears started falling, but I held her tighter, my heart aching with a pain I had never felt before. "You spend years trying to protect your child from sharp corners, from cold weather, from strangers on the street, but you never think the danger will come from other children, from a place that should have been safe. You should have told me," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I didn't want to make trouble," she said, "and I thought maybe it was my fault." No child should ever think pain is their fault. That night, after she finally fell asleep beside me, clutching my shirt like a baby, I lay awake until dawn, replaying every moment, every sign I had missed. The dirty uniforms, the untouched lunches, the sudden fear of loud noises, the hiding, and the worst part, the quiet. The next morning, I walked into her school not as a polite parent, but as a mother ready to fight. The principal, a serious woman with silver-rimmed glasses, listened carefully as I explained everything Amina had told me. She sighed heavily, rubbing her temples. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Khan. Bullying can sometimes go unnoticed if the child hides it well. But this is serious. We will investigate immediately." I demanded the names of the girls. She hesitated, then said she couldn't reveal them yet, but she promised action. Real action, not just warnings. I insisted on seeing the teacher responsible for Amina's grade. Miss Sana looked horrified when I repeated what had been happening right under her supervision. She apologized repeatedly, eyes full of guilt. "We will keep a closer watch. I won't let this continue," she said firmly. But the truth was, I didn't just want promises. I wanted change. For the next few days, Amina clung to me, refusing to go to school unless I stayed outside the gates until assembly ended. The school sent home updates, and the principal checked on her personally. They questioned teachers, monitored hallways, and eventually identified the girls responsible. Their parents were called in. Some tried to downplay it. Kids will be kids. It's harmless teasing, but the school took a strict stance. And for once, the system worked in our favor. Amina, however, wasn't magically healed. The fear lingered. The silence lingered. The habit of hiding lingered. One evening, after a particularly quiet day, she said softly, "Mama, what if they still don't like me?" I cupped her face gently. "You don't live your life for people who don't even know how to be kind." She looked at me with big, searching eyes. "But what if they scare me again? Then you tell me. Immediately. No hiding. No fear. You're not alone anymore." And slowly, so slowly, it was almost invisible, she began to come back to life. She joined a drawing club. She made a new friend. A quiet girl named Noor who loved colors and stories and brought extra markers to share. She even answered questions in class, something she hadn't done in months. Weeks passed, and one morning she hugged me extra tight before school, whispering, "Mama, I'm not scared anymore." That single sentence healed something inside me. Months later, her teacher called again, this time with a completely different tone. Amina volunteered to represent her class in the storytelling competition, she announced excitedly. "She's practicing every day. She's becoming more confident." I cried that day, not from fear, but from pride. When the competition arrived, I sat in the audience, heart thumping, watching my once silent daughter stand on stage, hands slightly shaking, voice soft but strong. She spoke about courage, about finding strength when everything feels dark. And though she didn't mention her story directly, I knew she was speaking from her soul. She won second place. But to me, she won something far bigger: herself. When she ran into my arms after the event, smiling wide, cheeks flushed, I whispered, "You're the bravest girl I know." She hugged me tight. "Mama, thank you for finding me." I pulled back, wiping her tears gently. "I didn't find you, sweetheart. You trusted me enough to come out of hiding. And that changed everything." From that day on, I promised myself one thing: my daughter would never feel alone again, not in her home, not in her school, not in her fears. Because every child deserves a world where hiding is never the safest option. And together, brick by brick, we rebuilt that world for her. What happened to Amina changed both of us in ways I never expected. Her fear taught me how deeply a child can hide their pain, and how easily a parent can miss the quiet signs. But it also showed me the strength that blossoms when a child finally feels heard, protected, and believed. Amina's journey from hiding behind the school auditorium to standing confidently on a stage reminded me that healing isn't instant. It grows slowly, through love, reassurance, and safety. The school took responsibility. I stood firmly by her side, and together we created a space where she could rebuild her courage. Today, she walks into school with her head held high, not because the world became kinder, but because she learned she never has to face it alone again. And that truth, knowing she is no longer hiding, changed our lives forever.